Hello and welcome back to the Blame Game. It was a doozy of a weekend as we had our first massive upset of 2022 with Dignitas upsetting 100 Thieves in a 2-0. There were also some ass blastings in top lane that we are definitely going to look into. But first, there was a promise from last video that I have to make good on. Just kidding. We got slightly over 500 subs last time, so you're safe for now. Also, I record this live on my Twitch, twitch.tv/themarkz. It's definitely cool to check out because I get to go into a lot more depth when prepping and watching team fights and positioning and all these little nuances that kind of get cut out in this video since it's trying to be snappier. So definitely follow and check it out next week on Monday when I record these. Our first topic comes from the biggest upset in the lock-in tournament so far with the 2-0 of Dignitas over 100 Thieves. This caused a lot of memes in the comments, and most were targeted at Abbedagga and Closer, who both apparently got gapped this series. Let's start with a quick definition of what getting gapped means. Now, League is a zero-sum game, so for every kill, someone has to have died. However, it's possible, and especially the case in the jungle position, that you can both be playing well and getting kills on other people, and therefore neither of you is getting gapped and you're both playing the map effectively. Looking at Closer and River's early games, I think both actually played exceptionally well. A large portion of this was River's ability to exploit 100 Thieves' somewhat poor vision control. This initial ward by Closer seems like the result of a team's scouting report on River's gank tendencies on Jarvan, and they cover the option of hopping into the Herald pit. However, this doesn't cover the extremely common Red Raptors mid level 2 gank, which forces Abbedagga's flash and puts him on the back foot in the early game. Closer has the appropriate response, cycling the topside camps of River while the J4 finishes clear in the bot lane. This should put J4 behind with nothing to do on the reset, but River now exploits the J4 mobility over the Herald pit and avoids the deep wards and being seen by Closer's recall. This narrow timing window allows him to find the kill on Someday. Closer finds his own chain of kills though, getting 2 in the mid lane and a 3rd in the bot lane. However, the 100 Thieves vision control problems are not done yet. This pink ward in the pixel brush isn't forward enough, which allows River to skirt the vision and get into the River brush. I'm not 100% certain that River wasn't seen here, but Abbedagga would have to be a complete idiot to walk up to that wall flashless while getting pincered by the karma. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. The next kill on Abbedagga is actually rather subtle. As River clears this pink ward, he EQs away while the lingering vision from the ward fades. This tricks Abbedagga into thinking that he is moving down to the bot lane and is thus safe to return to the mid lane. As you see, 100 Thieves bot lane and Closer kind of start prepping around the bot side for a vision fight when in reality, River just turns around and repeat ganks Abbedagga again. This video isn't about River at all, but holy shit, he plays around vision and player psychology better than anyone else in the LCS right now probably. These vision mistakes by 100 Thieves are hard to pin on a specific player and are a continuation of what we were talking about last week. However, my main problems actually come down to the draft and late game decision making for why I think they lost this game. They didn't prioritize picking the Lux with the Caitlyn, which allowed it to get banned in the second phase. Ezreal Karma can still control that lane as well, but it has a much better time dealing with the push than Lulu does while providing windows to win trades with binding trap combination. In isolation, these two games from FBI would put him last in 4%, when he is normally a power point for the team, especially on the Caitlyn pick. This losing lane means Dignitas can also stack the dragons, which is usually another part of the 100 Thieves game plan. Caitlyn's power comes from getting ahead of the curve of the game and then being able to bully people off objectives like turrets and dragons. If she's just even or behind in the game state, offlane Caitlyn feels pretty weak. You can see how FBI barely tickles opponents, like getting 4 hits on Neo, but him still having 80% HP. Speaking of late game team fights, I have no idea why Someday isn't split before them with how strong he is, especially versus the armor stacking Gragas. This team consistently NA rams when they should be 4-1 side lane focused with the kiting potential that Kate, Lulu, and Ori provides in the mid lane. The lack of pressure in the side lane means that when Dig does get control of the game, they can just stand around Baron forever until 100 Thieves makes a bad reset and take it for free, as opposed to being on an actual timer from a side lane pushing Gwen. The other problem with this draft is that it has almost no hard CC in it, save for the Viego. You can see Neo run wild over these fights without having to be scared of getting locked down. The desperation is apparent when Closer tries to flash over Gragas to get his W onto the Ezreal and set up Someday's flank. Without that setup, even during TP flanks, Mantra Eve from Karma allows the entire team to kite out Gwen. Game 2 is again more 5-head moves by both junglers trading blows. The invade by 100 Thieves leaves a few wards in the jungle, but River sweeps one out and thinks the rest are more centered on the red buff, and attempts to wrap around behind his Krugs to cheese a gank on the bot lane. However, he is spotted on the ward near the Raptors, and Closer moves in to 3-buff him. Understanding that his topside is now gone, River wants to map split, but is shoved out by the Caitlyn lane who has priority. He comes back around for a dive, but now it's kind of overforced and a little bit too slow, which allows Closer to collapse in and 100 Thieves to smash this fight. The only downside from this is that it has somewhat gimped Kate's early game again, combined with some repeat visits by River, as well as required a ton of flashes to pull off. So when Dignitas on Rift Herald spawn moved to force it, 100 Thieves should sack it. There is a post 6 Renekton, Gnar has no rage, you have no flashes up, Caitlyn's coming off of a reset and collapse after Neo just shoved and is able to move first. This is a massive fuck off sign for this fight, yet 100 Thieves still take it, get wiped, and end up with terrible wave states after. Blue picks up a handful of kills, which allows him to pick up early Merc Treads without falling off in damage items, and the Rift Herald that they drop mid puts extra pressure on Abadaga since he's about to lose his turret. And his desperation to save it leads to a pretty bad pickoff as he tries to brute force his way back into lane and dies. The rest of the game is honestly a steamroll for Dignitas, who close it out pretty cleanly. To summarize my thoughts on this series, the biggest issues were absolutely still team play and vision control. Individually, I actually thought Closer played quite well and went toe-to-toe with River. For Abadaga, all the deaths in lane combined with how much harder Blue popped off in game 2 means that I have to agree with the community. The man got gapped. Our second topic this week comes from Cloud9 versus CLG. Jenkins died 17 times in 3 games, and the internet was very quick to hop on the memes, especially given the strong performance of his bot lane with Poom and Luger. But how much of all these deaths was truly his fault? Almost all of it. Listen, I don't want to bully a fresh, young, new player on the scene, but this series was a disaster. I won't harp on every single mistake, but I'm also not going to pull my punches either. So I'm going to target 3 things that I want Jenkins to improve on going forward with his role as the CLG weak side top laner. For game 1, he gets his signature GP last pick counter pick into Sion. This should be a dream scenario for him, but somehow in the 1v1 with no intervention and under 4 minutes with the wave pushing away from him, he loses his flash. I don't even understand what happened because we don't see it since the camera is focused on the bot lane fight. This disaster in the bot lane, by the way, means Contracts loses his flash, making it difficult for him to get top to fix Jenkins' wave. This allows Cloud9 and Blabber to punish him over and over again with the amount of CC they have in the top and jungle, and Jenkins' chain dies. Here's the thing. Jenkins, you are the top laner. You know better than anyone else how fucked you are with that wave state, and you need to communicate that to your jungler. The game is unplayable as it is, and the only way that you're gonna be able to unfuck yourself in this situation is to take a risk. In this position, you cannot let Contracts recall here. You need to hope the Poppy isn't in a position to punish, and the two of you can bounce the wave together. If she is, yes, you are probably going to die, but you're gonna die anyways. They don't fix the wave, and the deaths continue. The unforced error in the early laning phase, combined with never fixing the wave state, screws the entire game plan for CLG. The second thing Jenkins needs to fix is his map movements and warding on the weak side. In game 1, he moves for a deep ward at an extremely risky moment with Poppy behind him. He isn't punished, but easily could have been. In game 2, his Gwen gets picked off when Cloud9 has abandoned bot lane, and he needed to be aware that the rest of C9 was moving into the mid lane and that he could potentially get picked off. The final thing I want Jenkins to work on is predicting the flow of the game. As the weak side top laner, you more than anyone else need to be aware of what the enemy is going to be attempting to do because their resources are coming at you. Game 3 starts with his team forcing a map split with Blabber on the top side. Akshan, as a ranged champion, has the ability to stack the wave, which means Blabber can easily attempt in a dive. Your LeBlanc has shove on mid lane. You could communicate to the LeBlanc to prep a TP to cover the dive so she can safely channel far enough back from the Malzahar. But Palafox is playing up to the turret because apparently CLG doesn't know the dive is a possibility. As a result, the TP comes in late and it becomes a 1-for-1. Maybe Jenkins just thought that the dive wasn't possible and thus didn't call for the potential teleport, but then that's a lack of matchup knowledge then. Jenkins will be in situations like this time and time again as CLG's weak side player because for the most part, Luger will be the one getting the resources going forward. These are 3 actionable things I want him to improve on because he'll need to if CLG want to break into the top 5 of the league. That does it for this week's Blame Game. I am sorry if I was a little harsh on some of the young guns, but I gotta keep it real. Plus, as a former coach, these things would have me ripping my hair out. Next weekend is the end of the lock-in tournament with the semis taking place on Friday and Saturday and Sunday on finals on Sunday. Haha! Make sure you watch to see if Dignitas can keep their miracle run alive. Woohoo!
It's a new year, which means it's a new you, which means maybe you need a new computer or a new monitor or some new accessories. There's a bunch of cool stuff that just got announced actually that Alienware's coming out with soon. But right now, why don't you do me a favor and celebrate the new year by doing something maybe I've asked you to do before on a couple of occasions, which is to click the link in the description below and head over to alienware.com/Travis to take a look at all the awesome stuff over at Alienware's website where you can pick up something swell to get ready for 2022. Thanks to them for their support and their sponsorship of our content.